Okay, well, let's first of all just start by, can introduce yourself to the Bloomington Alternative audience, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and then we'll build up to how Fagbug came along.
Can I look at you or over there?
Look at,
Okay. My name is Erin Davies. I'm 29 years old. I was a grad student in Albany, New York, going to become an art teacher and just living my everyday life. And I'm an artist and an activist, and I didn't really feel like the society we live in is all that homophobic necessarily. It's never really been kind of thrown at me so blatantly. Like I came out when I was 17, so I've been like openly gay since, for like 12 years. So I had a hard time like coming out to my parents when I was younger, but after 12 years they've kind of dealt with it, and my life is pretty. I didn't really think that homophobia was like really in my space that much. Like at school and at work, I'm very well liked, and so just one day I'm just walking to my car to go to my part-time job. I work two jobs at school. I work in the diversity office and the education office, and I'm in this like 2-year program to get my degree in art education, K through 12. So I was just, I had a part-time job. I was just on my way to my part-time job. I worked at this like burrito place, and I had to work at 11 o'clock. It was April 18th. I was just walking to my car, any other day. It was 10:40 in the morning, and then I had to work at 11. It takes 20 minutes to get there, and basically like that day and what I saw in my car kind of shifted everything in my life, and now I'm on this whole different path. So basically I just walked to my car, and I drive a Volkswagen Bug. It's 2002. For the last like 7 years I've been driving really like shoddy cars, and the last one I had before that was like all spotted, and I drove that for 2 years, and the paint kept peeling off, and I finally just decided I need to get a better car, even though I couldn't really afford it. So I bought my Bug. Like it wasn't brand new, but it was like new to me, and had like 30,000 miles on it, and I just bought it, and I've only had it for like a year and a half. So to have someone spray paint on my new car, like the car that I'm paying for like so much every month, hurt me even more than if it was just one of my old cars that I paid for in cash. And it's the first time I've had like a car payment, basically ever in my life. So I walked to my car and saw someone spray painted "You Are Gay" on my hood. That's the first thing I saw. I just saw something red on the hood. I didn't even see what it said. I just saw like red spray paint on my hood, and I just stopped like dead in my tracks. And I just couldn't believe that someone actually I was looking at the words like "You are gay," but it wasn't even like registering as words in my mind. I just couldn't even believe that someone wrote that. So I was staring at it, but it wasn't coming clear in my mind. So once I finally read it and saw what it said, I was just in total disbelief. And then I saw, from where I was standing, I saw something else red on my window, the driver's side window. And from where I was standing, it was backwards. So I had to walk around to actually be able to read what it said. And then I saw some plastered fag all over my driver's side window, and the G is on part of the door. So at that moment, I honestly just pulled out my cell phone, looked at the time. It was like 10:40, and I was like, I gotta go. So I had to get to work. I opened the door. I got in. I attempted to drive my car that day, and I only made it like half a block, and everybody on the street was pointing at me and staring at me, and I just couldn't handle it. I felt totally humiliated. I didn't want to be connected with that, or I didn't want people to look down on me for having that in my car. So I went half a block, then I went right back in reverse, went right back into that spot. Got out of my car and ran home, and had tears in my eyes, and got a different ride to work that day.
so you left the car at the place where it had been spray painted.
Yeah.
And this was where?
This was in Albany, New York, just outside of my home. I live downtown in an apartment. I have public parking where I live, so this is basically out in broad daylight in the middle of downtown.
Okay. And so what did you decide to do?
Basically, I decided to embrace it, and I eventually decided to drive the car. But it didn't happen overnight. It's not like I walked to the car and was like, oh, this is a great thing. Let me start a movement out of this. I felt totally humiliated by it. That it kind of was a 2-day process of how this all unraveled, and the point of me getting to drive it. Basically, that day, I went to work. I got a different ride to work. Everybody in my, I feel like I have them because I had a rainbow sticker on the back of my car. I just had one of those long, skinny, narrow stickers, and immediately I felt like this is maybe a personal attack. So it's my personal property, and did somebody see my girlfriend there in our neighborhood? What's going on? But then after reading what they wrote, writing fag in my car, fag is more of a term for a guy, a derogatory term for a gay man or someone who's perceived as gay or weak. It's definitely not a term that most people use to call towards a woman. And like I said, I've been out as gay since I was 17, so to write "you are gay" on my car, it's like writing "you have brown eyes" or "you are straight" in someone's car. That's fine with it. Like, it wasn't the choice of words that someone would write in my car that wanted to personally attack me, Aaron. You know, it was just, I think that they saw that sticker and they just decided to, like, you know, write that. So when I got to work that day, everybody asked me, well, what are you going to do about the sticker? So I hadn't even thought about that yet, but that's really what started the dialogue. Everybody in my work's advice was to take it off because they wanted to protect me and they didn't want anything like that to happen to me again. And had you asked me the first day, I probably would have said, I'm going to, you know, definitely get my car fixed and I'm going to take the sticker off. The next day, I went to one of my classes and there's only like 2 gay people in my class, me and this other guy, Scott, and we're both friends. And I thought that Scott would definitely say, keep the sticker on, but instead he said that's the number one reason why he would never have a rainbow sticker on his car, you know, to avoid something like that happening. But there was one girl in my class, Katie, who, she's not gay, but she was very adamantly saying, you know, she thinks that I should keep it on because I shouldn't let someone bully or intimidate me like that. And I shouldn't let them win, you know. So it wasn't until that moment that I actually started thinking more about it, like, you know, what should I do about this sticker, you know, let alone what should I do about the words in my car. So I kind of had this feeling that I wanted to, like, interview people and ask them, like, you know, their advice before I made my final decision about what to do. And I could relate to all the different opinions on it. And when I went home from work that day, I got out an hour early and I called the police. I was waiting in my girlfriend's car across the street. We were sitting in her car and we had to wait like an hour, and there was probably like 50 people that passed by my car, and every single person had some kind of outward reaction to it. So that was the beginning of me seeing the dialogue that my car was creating just by being parked. Like, nobody knew I was there, nobody knew that was my car, nobody knew I was watching that, but all these random strangers on the street were like coming together to talk about it, and everybody had some like major, you know, like body expressions, you know, those things that they were saying, like, oh my God, that's so messed up, or whatever they had to say. Like, nobody walked by without looking at it, without commenting on it. So that was kind of the beginning of me seeing the dialogue I was creating. And you know, the police came and they just kept saying, who are my enemies, who are my enemies, and they, you know, they thought that it was because, you know, I had upset someone and there's something that I did to evoke this, and they didn't see any connection between my sticker and the words that were written on my car. So I think that that's part of the reason why I felt compelled to keep it on and to travel around and educate people, because you know, had I not been a stronger, had I not been like this person that I am, like, I probably would have just went in my bedroom and cried about, well, why did the police think that I deserved this, like, that there's something that I did that evoked this. So then I called my insurance company and they weren't going to give me like a rental car because they said my car was technically drivable. So, and again, I have to give credit to my insurance company. Geico is my insurance company. Had they said that they were going to come out and give you a quote right now, Miss Davies, we're going to take care of this, you know, it'll be handled, you can go get your car fixed today, I would have the car fixed. But they couldn't get someone to come out and give me that quote until 5 days, so they made me wait 5 days. So just by default, like, they didn't want to give me a rental car because it was drivable, but I was like, honestly, like, I did not want to drive the car. I was like, you got to be kidding me, this is humiliating, my car says fag on my, you know, right next to my face, like, you would not want to drive a car that has fag on it, like, and neither do I. So basically they ended up, like, you know, the guy was laughing, he's like, oh, it's not funny, but, you know, it was just kind of like a special case or whatever, you know, like, because my car was drivable, but it was like this humiliating word on my car. They couldn't really expect me to drive it, so he had to get permission from the supervisor. So they okayed giving me a rental car. So by default, because I had to wait 5 days, my car was parked in my neighborhood and I was driving this rental car. I got a PT Cruiser, I was driving that around it happened on a Wednesday, and I drove the car that night and went to class. So I didn't let this happening stop me from what I had to do that day. I still went to work, I still went to class that night, and I came home, and then the next day I drove the rental car the whole day. And people in my neighborhood, because my car was parked there, they were coming up to me, like random neighbors or people that knew that was my car where I lived. They were stopping me in the middle of traffic, like in the rental car, to talk to me about my car. So I feel like someone has to be really upset or impacted that they need to stop me when I'm in a different car. Like, me driving the rental car was my way of physically and emotionally distancing myself from the whole situation. So I really don't feel like I should have to like answer to it or talk to people about it, but like, people, like, just the whole thing kept coming to me. So people are stopping me in the middle of traffic, talk to me about my car. It's like I just couldn't go anywhere without having this dialogue brought to me. And the next day, well, it happened on Wednesday, so Friday morning I went for a run in the morning, and I only made it one block, and this parking lot attendant where my car is always parked, he stopped to talk to me. This Jamaican guy, gave me his advice what he thinks I should do about the sticker, and he thinks I should take it off, and what the rainbow sticker means to him. And again, he's trying to protect me, and people in my neighborhood like looking out for me. And so we had this like half hour, 45-minute conversation, and I only made it like from my apartment to like one block to where he was, and I never got beyond that. So I literally walked back to my apartment that morning, and I basically just felt like, God, I just can't, like, I can't escape this whole situation, and it's like very strong, and it's coming to me, and I keep kind of resisting it. But me not being able to go on the run that day was what pushed me over the edge to decide, okay, I'm going to drive it. So I drove it to school that day, still not knowing what I was getting myself into. I rolled the window down that morning, and I still did not want to be really connected to that word next to my face so closely. But I parked the car, I got a lot of support from people on my campus, and from that point I've never like rolled the window down again out of like embarrassment or anything. I just kind of sort of become one with it in a way. And I parked in front of the admissions building. Funny thing is the night where this happened, I had never parked on that block before. I never had trouble parking where I live. So I parked there, and someone vandalized my car. And then the day that I decided to drive it, I've never gotten a good parking spot on campus. And for whatever reason, there was like this great spot right in front of the admissions building. And had I not parked there, the whole thing wouldn't have exploded the way that it did, and I wouldn't be here today. So parked there, and I brought one faculty member out to look at it. And while we were standing there, the public safety officer came up to me and asked me if this is my vehicle and how long I plan on being there, and eventually asked me if I'd move the car. And told me that I had to go talk to the director of public safety, and he informed me that within 1 hour between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the morning, there were 50 phone calls made to their office, and their office was totally flooded with these phone calls. And he said both they were on two sides. Like, either people were really empathetic and upset to see that someone did that, and like wondered who did this happen on campus, whose car was that, they wanted to like help, or they were just like infuriated that the car was there, and they saw that as a problem, and they wanted to like have it removed immediately. Like, of course the admissions building didn't want potential students to come there and think that happened there, and not want to go to that school because of it. So the admissions building, communications office, and public safety were all really mad at me for making everyone think that it happened there by driving my car there. So instead of have compassion towards me for, oh, I'm sorry this happened to one of our students, I'm sorry this happened to you, it was just more about like them protecting their image and being mad at me for kind of rocking the boat with that whole thing. So so I had like extremely like negative reaction from certain departments, and then like by the end of the day, the president of my college found out about it, the dean of the School of Education, Connie Frazier, found out about it, and they were totally behind me. So I mean, went all the way up to the top where there's like this huge support, and then there's really negative reaction towards me. So, and just towards my car. I got on the news by the end of the day, and I just said I was going to drive it for 1 week to raise awareness, and 1 week seemed like an eternity. I didn't think I could do that. And someone mentioned that they thought I should take my car to like the Albany Gay Pride Parade, and I just like laughed at that idea. I was like, there's no way that I would like drive my car in a Pride Parade. And now I've done like 12 Pride Parades all around the country, and I did Vancouver Pride, and I won like most outstanding individual in the Vancouver Pride Parade. And so it's kind of interesting to look back. Like, I don't know, it's important for me to just tell people that it's sort of all just kind of unraveled and slowly became what it is. It didn't just happen overnight.
So for people who don't know that you're doing this tour, talk about the tour. Then you decided to go longer than 1 week, obviously.
Yep. So basically, driving my car the first day is when the whole thing sort of blew up, and then how it became fag bug and how I decided to embark on this cross-country trip. The next day, a friend of mine from Baltimore called me, and he thought it was great that they asked me to move my car. He thought it was great that I parked in front of admissions, and he's like, thought it was great that I got on the news to raise some awareness, but he's like, honestly, if you take this off your car now, the whole thing will be forgotten and nobody's going to care about it. But if you can have the guts to keep driving it, he's the one that told me, you should take it around the country. And he was like, what if someone's filming a movie and your car is just parked there, and in the scene, like, they're definitely not going to just like let you stay there. They're going to be like, get your car with fag like out of our scene, And he just had this bigger picture for it. Like, I was too close to it to really think of some kind of way to like make a bigger impact. And he just saw it from the outside and encouraged me, like, you should take it around the country and document it, see how many people ask you to move it, see how many people try to take it off, see all, just see what people do, see the reactions that you get. And right away he said fagbug.com and buying you the website. So my friend Corey from Baltimore, I have to give him total credit for coming up with fagbug. I mean, so obvious, I drive a bug and they roll fag on it, it doesn't take much to put the two together. But I never would have come up with that. And by calling it fag bug, I mean, it's kind of taking the word fag, which was obviously meant to hurt me, and was this way, and you know, kind of transforming it into some kind of fun, playful, positive slogan for what I'm doing. And people think it's catchy. They think, you know, people that don't even know about my story, they're like, what's Bagbug? And they think that it's a cute logo, and I designed the logo, and I have stickers. So I decided to, and well, I went out of town for one day. I came back, and my friend said he was buying me the website, and I didn't really believe him, and I thought it was funny. I was like, oh yeah, that's real funny. See you later. Like, I never would have bought that as my website or went out of my way to do that. So again, like, this whole thing kept like coming to me. So I went out of town, I came back, and my friend bought the website, and he made the MySpace page and everything. Like, he just signed me up and was like, this is your username, Fagbug, and this is your password. And I'm the one that typed in. I finally decided, okay, I'm going to do this cross-country trip with my car. And I also, on the way home from being out of town, my girlfriend's mom was like, maybe Erin should make her own stickers. And again, I thought that was like a crazy idea, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, that's a really positive thing. If someone can vandalize my car because I had a rainbow sticker on it, rather than take my sticker off, you know, if I want to like add more rainbow stickers in my car, that shows like a really positive statement that I'm making. So I decided to make like Bagbug stickers, and on my website it says that I want to sell like 1 million stickers. I'm going to keep my car like that until that point, but it's not about selling 1 million stickers. I mean, I've only sold like 500 or something, but it's about like just me saying I'm going to keep my car like that for a long time until I feel like enough, you know, educating has been done. So anyway, so I decided to launch like a 55-day cross-country trip with my car, and the point of it isn't to do gay prides and stuff like that. Like, those types of events are just to help me get support and raise money. But out of 55 days, I would say like 40 of those 55 days have just been me exposing my car to the general public, and you know, whether I'm getting gas, whether I'm on the highway, everywhere that I go, people see my car. Like, if I'm driving down the street, you know, people will point at my car and, you know, talk to each other about it and have a dialogue about it. And, you know, a lot of people don't have any reason to care about like homophobia or, you know, how it affects their life if they don't know anyone that's gay, or they don't have any reason to like any connection to it. My car gives them a connection because it's people that are really uncomfortable with seeing it and they don't like how it feels. Like, of course, like homophobia doesn't feel good, you know, for a gay person, or if someone's just having my car on the highway next to someone else's car, like that's kind of invading their space in a way that's making them have a personal experience with it. And so because they feel that, and then they're like, it's so much in their space that they have to kind of reflect upon that, like, what do they think about it, and, you know, how did that feel for them to be next to a car that said that, and, you know, I don't know, it forces people to have a discussion about it and to kind of reflect upon where they feel, you know, it's kind of like a mirror, you know, like, however a person reacts to my car shows a lot about where they stand on the topic. You know, some people laugh right at my face, you know, some people are totally apathetic and they don't acknowledge it at all. Other people are really upset by seeing it and shocked and, you know, hurt by seeing that. So, you know, a lot of it's just about getting people's reactions. I'm interviewing people everywhere I go, and I drove the car for 2 months before I decided to launch this trip, and a lot of people have emailed me now that I have a website, sharing their stories from all around the country. You know, their cars were vandalized or their cars were keyed, and that's what it's, you know, someone, you know, I didn't walk into my car that day. I didn't really think that was like a big problem. None of my friends had ever had their car vandalized, or nothing that blatant has happened to them before. But now that I decided to keep it on, I'm in this position where people are coming to me to share their stories with me, whether it's through email or whether it's just getting out of my car, and people like Brandon here, who I met in Laramie, you know, coming up to me because they see that on my car and they're sharing what happened to them too. So I think I'm in this, and you know, when these things happen, it's like, say I just covered my car up, it would just be like this isolated incident. Like, I wouldn't know that there's a connection to other people that went through that too, because it doesn't really have any visibility. Because you would basically, the first reaction that you have is like, I want to get that off my car as quick as possible and move on. But by doing that, I feel like you totally internalize that shame, that humiliation, and by me keeping it on, I'm not internalizing it. I'm not feeling like I'm the one that did anything wrong. And whoever did this, by me taking what was meant to hurt me and doing something positive with it, that person that did this, they can, like, they're the one that has to feel like they have to question what they did now. You know, like, they didn't expect me to be like keeping that on my car and traveling all around the country to talk to people about it, and so it's probably making them think twice about doing that again. And that's what I hope that they would do that next time around, if they have that thought to do that to someone, you know, kind of backfire whatever they intended. So that's the more funny I can be about the whole thing. Like, I'm taking pictures, I mean, this doesn't happen to me, I wouldn't be traveling around the country, and like, it's something I've always wanted to do, and I've never had the opportunity or the reason really, or the time or the money. But, you know, I feel like the more places I can go and like the more, you know, fun I can make of it, like the more that person's gonna like regret what they did, you know. So
You mentioned Laramie and Vancouver. Where all have you been?
I started in Albany, New York, June 27th, and then my first stop was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And like I said, I thought that, I'm doing a documentary, and I thought through my, travels that I would meet up with these people that had, vandalized car stories and just these untold stories that they all got covered up, and I would kind of shed some light on them. But my first stop was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and that's when I heard about Sean Kennedy, who got killed, this 20-year-old that got killed in Greenville, South Carolina as part of a hate crime. And his mom's like out there educating and fighting for hate crime legislation in South Carolina. My route was to leave South Carolina and go to Florida, then to do all the other southern states. But I just had I heard that there was a vigil that they were doing, I think it's in Columbia. And so I was like, I just have to go back and meet her. So I just ditched my route and going back to meet her. And her name's Alki, and so I've met some people along the way that have really changed my whole life. Meeting Alki and going back there, it's just been very moving, and we just have this bond now ever since I stayed at her home for 3 days. I interviewed her, and we went to where Sean was killed and everything. And so very quickly within my trip, within one day, I learned okay, it's not these vandalized car stories that I'm telling. Things are a lot worse than even I realized. And my second stop was in Florida, and that's when I heard of Ryan Skipper, who got murdered in March of this year, and Sean was killed in May. I don't know, so very quickly I realized, I think everybody thinks that Matthew Shepard getting killed, and 8 years ago was the last time a gay person got killed for being gay, and that's kind of what I thought before this happened to me. I wasn't really aware of all these stories, and I don't think they get, they're not getting as much media attention as Matthew Shepard's story got. So people, the general, if I didn't know as a gay person that's somewhat, an activist and sort of informed, I don't think the general public, is hearing about it, or they're not getting that much attention. So once I heard about Ryan and Sean, I decided to go to those towns and spend, extensive period. I spent 3 days in each of those towns, taking my car there. And again, for me, it would be a lot easier to just wipe this off my car and think that, oh, that's not a reality, or that would never be me. I could never, that couldn't happen to me. So it's been, kind of scary to take my car into these situations where this kind of thing is happening, and to kind of confront it, and how to know that could be a reality. And going to Winter Haven and Juanita, Florida, it was very scary, rural environment where you could very easily imagine something like that happening. And just talking to the people there, it's a whole other mentality, a whole other world. So, basically, I went down south. I went to Arkansas. I went to Kansas. I drove through Mississippi. I was in Memphis, Tennessee. I went to the Civil Rights Museum there. I've gotten a lot of criticism from people for what I'm doing, whether it's people back in Albany or just other people that hear about my story. I think once you make something public, there's lots of people that want to knock you. And so it was important for me to go to the Civil Rights Museum. They show you a lot about just both sides of what Martin Luther King was doing, what Rosa Parks was doing. And at the time, they were even resisted by people within their own community because they were thinking they were beyond their time. You know what I mean? So it was inspiring for me to go there to kind of get more, just to have more strength to continue on doing what I'm doing despite all the negative things people say about what I'm trying to do. So I had an event in Colorado Springs, and then I went to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I went down to San Diego, and then I was in LA, and then from there I went to Vegas, then I went to Salt Lake City, Utah, and Boise, Idaho, Seattle, Vancouver. From Vancouver I went to Laramie, Wyoming, and then from there I had to get to Madison, Wisconsin for an event there. And that was the first chance I had I did a speaking engagement there where I basically showed all these images, the stories that I've kind of uncovered along the way. I'm not an investigator, but I feel like I'm being one. So I think everyone really liked to see the images, and some people came that were skeptical, well, her car was vandalized, what can she talk about, but they didn't realize that, it's not only just about my story, but it's about these other stories that I'm being able to tell through my story. So that was very successful, and I sort of decided that I wanted to take a year off school and go around and, continue educating people at high schools and colleges. And I met someone there who was willing to help me organize that for this fall, and I want to get my documentary done, so I'm going to prioritize everybody's kind of curious about what I'm doing, so I want to make, now is the time to do it. So now I'm in Bloomington, Indiana, and I'm here to investigate, Aaron Hall's murder. So it's the third major hate crime murder that I have found out about. Basically Ryan was killed in March, Aaron was killed in April, and Sean was killed in May. So people think that once every 10 years, once every decade, a gay person is killed for being gay. Like within my travels, I can show just within a 3-month period, there's 3 major crimes against gay men for being killed. And because my car says fag on it, they didn't write dyke or trans or whatever. Someone wrote fag. Like, so I'm kind of investigating why is it that someone would feel that compelled and that bothered by the idea of a gay man, that they would take the time and effort to write fag on my car, or that they would take the time to, like the guy that punched Sean, to just punch him in the face so hard that they broke their wrist when they hit him. Or Ryan Skipper got stabbed and brutally killed, and the guys went around bragging that they just killed a faggot like to their town. And and the story with Aaron, so what they're saying is that I'm still investigating the story, but just the fact that if that was true, that he made a pass on someone, that they would just feel the need to like brutally kill them. I'm a lesbian. I get hit on by men all the time, but do I feel like that bothered by it, that I have to I think I'm justified in killing them for it? No, it's just something that you can say, oh, thanks, but no thanks. As long as you're secure with yourself, it's a big deal. But there's this machoism that straight men are so threatened by the idea of anyone that's gay coming near them in that way, that they think that that's the appropriate reaction. So for me, it's kind of, I'm investigating like why is it that our society as a whole is like much more accepting and tolerant of lesbians than they are gay men. A lot of people say to me, it's cool that you're lesbian, but the idea of 2 men together totally disgusts them. And I don't take it. I basically take that as them saying that I disgust them, because I don't see any difference between, if you're gay, whether you're male or female. There shouldn't be this double standard. And so my whole investigation, if you could call it that, is I'm just wondering why that is and trying to shed some light on that. I definitely want to show that within this 3-month period, there's these 3 major things that happened one every single month. So it's not like once every 10 years. It's like almost it's every day that this kind of thing happens to a car. But it's like once a month that someone could be killed like this, or even more probably. I'm sure there's more stories that I haven't heard about.
Well, why don't you talk about Brandon, how you met Brandon, kind of the circumstances of that. And you mentioned last night that as you were driving, sometimes you would have Brandon driving. Brandon drives the car a lot. Have you noticed any kind of difference in reaction to a pretty young woman driving the car as opposed to a guy driving the car?
Well, I think before I left for this trip, I thought that I would receive a lot of adversity, I was just wondering what the reactions were going to be. I was kind of scared, like I just didn't know what, my car draws a lot of attention. I didn't know what the reaction was going to be to me. But I've definitely met some people that are anti-gay and that maybe have adverse opinions about what I'm doing. But for the most part, I've been very well received. I don't think people see the connection between seeing fag on my car and seeing me step out of it. People don't necessarily assume that I'm gay, and because there's like that disconnect between the word fag and a woman, I think that they feel kind of like sorry for me, like, oh, so poor girl, someone like actually, made a mistake and wrote on your car. Is that even your car? Like they don't get, they're not reacting to me as if like, it would be different if I stepped out of the car and I was a man with the word fag. So that's one of the questions I've been asking people along the way, like, do you think it would be different? As a consensus, most people think that I would be in more physical danger if I was a guy stepping out of a car, driving around the country with the word fag on it. So it's been something so I met Brandon and Laramie. Ironically, the way we met was really interesting. Like I was traveling through Laramie, I wanted to see if there was a memorial there for Matthew Shepard. I want to talk to people of the town to see what they think about, hate crimes, or see what was their reaction to my car. And I was actually just standing at a McDonald's, and across the street I saw a Laramie car wash sign, and I wanted to take a picture with my car right there. So I went across the street, I'm standing here taking a picture for like 2 seconds, and Brandon was on his way to college from Salt Lake City, Utah, all the way to Indiana, and he already had enough gas, but he just wanted to stop there and also see if there was a memorial for Matthew Shepard. So we're both on this like same mission, the same exact point in time and place. And he went to fill up his gas tank, went inside, and came back out 5 minutes later, and somebody actually like did something to his windshield, and he had this like big crack in his windshield. So he went back in and asked if they have video surveillance and if they could look and see what happened, and they immediately asked him, do you have some kind of like sticker on your car, like insinuating like a rainbow sticker or some kind of like gay sticker? And he said that he has an equality, like a human rights equality sticker, and they were like, oh, well, that kind of thing happens here all the time. That was definitely probably it, so that gives us both the feeling of what it's like to be in Laramie. I mean, it's definitely a different climate, and as much as people there don't want to think that what happened to Matthew Shepard represents their town. I mean, what a weird impression that Brandon's only there for 5 minutes and somebody's already like damaged his property. So he went through the car wash where I was, standing in front of, and he saw my car with the word fag on it and came directly up to me to share with me what just happened to his car. And so I asked if he would be interviewed, and I started talking to him, and he was saying how he wanted to see if there's this memorial, and he thought that it would be like a 2-minute excursion. And I said, well, I wanted someone to come with me, but I didn't want like a random stranger to come with me. So I was kind of shaky about, well, who should I get to come, or should I just go by myself? And given that, Brandon shared his story so openly, and given what he'd just gone through, I felt comfort with him and had no problem asking him to come with me. So we went on this like 3-hour, wild goose hunt, trying to find where Matthew Shepard's body was left, and where this unknown memorial is. And we basically talked to like 30 people and got sent in a million different directions. And what we found is that there's like no memorial there. That and there's people that have come through the town over the years. I mean, it's been 8 years, and they even said, someone came here yesterday looking for this. And there's definitely a flux of people, from out of town coming to find this. And the fact that the town has done nothing to like help guide them for an 8-year period, I just think it's crazy. And whether people think it was a hate crime or not, this is someone's life that was lost. And if someone dies in a car accident on the street, there's a memorial there for that person. And I mean, this is something that went down in history as like a major hate crime, murder against someone that is gay, and it's gotten like national and international press. So you would think that they would have something there to acknowledge that, but there's nothing. And people in the town just like direct you, in this like middle of this, kind of hill. Like the first thing we heard is that there's one fence, and you'll find it, when you get to this area. But every single house there has a fence, and there's like a million fences to choose from. And we found basically like one area that was like our best guess after talking to 30 people, that we thought this could be it, but one of the neighbors said that the fence might not even be there anymore, and we just weren't sure. So the fact that after 3 hours, we did everything that we could, and we didn't successfully know for a fact that that's where it was. We just had to kind of guess. We were definitely in the general area, and we were very close. We met a neighbor who lives, 500 like yards from where it happened, and she pointed to this one building and said she said it's 500 yards south of where that was. I mean, we were right there, and she said that she saw the ambulance from her house, like, that night, and she, so we were right there, but we couldn't really get a definite about the exact space where it took place. So I don't know, things like that are just sad. I think that there should be some kind of memorial. Like when I went to Winter Haven for Ryan Skipper, we went to the street where his body was dropped, and we thought there would be some kind of memorial or something there to like represent where that happened. And I talked to the neighbors there, and they just felt like, why should there be a memorial here? Like his body was just dropped here. It's not like he was killed there. And like the people in Laramie, like that they live there, like they don't even know exactly where it took place. Like they've never actually taken the time to go find it and actually sit with it and think about it in that way and be in the environment. And it's the same thing in in Juanita, Florida. Like people had like on this exact street where it was dropped, none of the neighbors even knew took the time to even find out exactly where this take place, or they didn't even know anything about the story. Like they didn't even bother reading the articles, and it happened in their own backyard. And Ryan Skipper didn't even have like a tombstone. That's at his grave, and he died in March. So by the time I was there, it was the end of June, early July, and there's not even a tombstone there. And there's no memorial for him. It's kind of like these people just get forgotten, And I just think that's really sad. And people think that maybe I'm making money and stuff like that, but at this point, I'm just trying to break even from my trip. But if I ever am in a position where I do make money off of like my film or just speaking or whatever, I mean, there's definitely something like. That's like something that I would love to like help make happen. Like have a memorial for Matthew Shepard, have a memorial for Ryan Skipper, have a memorial for Sean, for Aaron. And if it's like with my car, like basically it costs $350 something to get fixed. I have a $500 deductible. Literally, I'm paying for someone else's ignorance to have to get that fixed. Obviously, it's emotionally traumatic to have someone do that to your property, but to have to like, pay for it out of your own pocket, I just think it adds a burden to someone that they shouldn't have to. I didn't do that to my car. Why should I have to pay for it? It's someone else's fault that happened. And so I think there's lots of like hate crimes and things like that happen to people, and they end up having to be the ones to pay for it. And I think if I'm ever in a position where I can like help out people financially with something, I would love to help with that. Like people that have those kind of things happen, they shouldn't have to pay for it out of their own pocket.
How long have you been in Indiana and Bloomington, and what's your experience has been here?
I've been in Indiana for this is my second full day here. And I'm staying in Greencastle with Brandon, who I met in Laramie. And I met Steve because I read his article about Aaron Hall, Bloomington Alternative. So I came here yesterday to meet with Steve and just find out more about Aaron Hall's case. And he gave me a lead to talk to Denise, who has kind of been to all the spots where everything took place here, to the jail and where Aaron was beat up and then where his body was taken. And so I'm trying to still investigate the story. Today we're going to go to Crothersville. Is that how you pronounce it?
Carruthers.
Crothersville. So from what I've heard of it, it sounds like it's just like a small town like Juanita in Florida, so it's a little creepy. Or I guess I'll be kind of watching my back while I'm there. So we're planning on going there today. We might go to the jail where the guys that murdered him are and see if we can find out something there. And we've heard that his mother works at Walmart, so we might try to see if we can find her. Basically, I just want to talk to people that are involved in the story to see if I can learn more about it, and then just people in the town, what they've heard about it. If nobody in the town's heard about it or cares about it, I think that's very telling. Or if, however people were impacted in the town about it, what kind of light they can shed on it. So, I'll try to talk to as many people as I can get to talk on video and give their reactions to it. And last night we left here to go back to the Greencastle, and very interesting. I think it's one of the most interesting things that have happened on the trip. We got pulled over by the police, and yeah, so I do have this creeping suspicion that it would be different if a guy was driving my car. So when I met Brandon and Laramie, I did ask him what he thought. Does he think it would be different? And he agreed, and I said, he said that he was going to Indiana, and I said, well, that's where I'm headed next. So would you be willing to drive my car when I come there for a few days? And he said that he would. So it's a good break for me because I have a long drive home. This is the very last ending part of my trip. I've been on the road for over 50 days, and I'm definitely tired of driving and tired anyways. So it gives me a break, and I think it's just interesting to see what people ultimately end up finding out that it's my car, in the end. But I think that they make assumptions when they see him getting out of it. So I'm just kind of trying to experiment with that. I think it would be interesting to have a gay man drive my car, and even if I don't get to see all these different reactions, just how is the experience for them to drive it, and having a straight man drive my car, how do they feel having the word fag next to their, how putting themselves in the shoes of dealing with homophobia, and even someone that's a minority, like a male minority, it would be interesting too, because people would react differently to all these types of, stereotypes they would see about them and assume, and I think the reactions would be different. So I'm kind of experimenting with that. But anyway, so Brandon's driving the car last night on our way home. We got pulled over by the police, and this is probably the worst experience I've ever had with a cop since this happened. And basically, we got pulled over because the word fag was on my car, and that's the only reason that we got pulled over. We weren't doing anything wrong, as far as driving goes. And first thing he just said is, "That's an obscenity. Why do you have an obscenity on your car?" And we just told him. I mean, we honestly just, we said, I know that that's an obscenity. Somebody actually vandalized my car and wrote that. And not once did he ever ask, where did this happen? When did this happen? Do you need to make a report? Are you okay? I'm sorry to see that. No compassion towards, the situation at all. Just, mad at us for the fact that was on our car. As if, we did it or something. Just mad at us for putting it there and having it there and driving it with that there. And he just kept saying over and over again, that's an obscenity. Finally we told him that, we're not trying to take it off, and that someone actually vandalized him, and told him I'm traveling around to educate people. And he said, how could you possibly be educating people? That makes absolutely no sense. I want to just take a razor blade right now and take that off your car. And I was like, well, it's my car, so you got, technically it's my property, so you really can't do that. He's like, well, you should do that right now. And so we basically just said that, we're keeping it on, and please don't do that. And he actually took his fingernail and he started scraping. As soon as we told him we didn't want to take it off, he started scraping it off with his fingernail, and I was like, please stop doing that. And he's basically just yelled at us again, that's an obscenity and you should do your research on that. And he pointed at us and walked away and drove off. So that was really, I don't know, I think there are police officers out there that are sensitive to this kind of thing, and there's definitely, I wanted to film it, and he came back to the car as soon as I had my, I got out of my car to go get the camera to I wanted to film it, and I asked him if he would be willing to be interviewed, but I don't think they can be interviewed with their uniform on without getting permission. But I went to grab my camera, and he just came right back at us so quickly. And I was definitely there's people ask am I scared along the way, and there's certain environments that are scarier than others, but I definitely felt I kind of pushed push him that far, you know, like, I think that he was the kind of person that would, I don't know, like, I have no idea what he was capable of. He was really angry at us. So, it was weird.
Now, along the way, you've been keeping a blog that you post on fagbug.com. How's that going? What kind of audience have you attracted?
Well, for me, the blog started just because I wanted to document, like, because I'm doing a documentary, I just want to document my experiences. Like, I've done other documentaries in the past where I have, like, I spent like 4 months this past semester going through like 100 hours of footage from something else and writing it all in a notebook, and, you know, not having tracked it at the time, like, wasted so much time for me. So for me, the blog just started the first day I drove it. So many things happened, so many crazy reactions. Like, it was so much in my mind that I almost, like, I just had to write it down so I wouldn't forget it all. So I literally started the blog just to keep track of what was going on and so I wouldn't forget things. And I never thought one person would read my blog, and that's not why I started it. I just did it for myself to chronicle, you know, the story and, you know, people's reactions. And, you know, just my own experience of what this journey has been like too. And by surprise, I mean, people all around the world have been reading my blog, you know, people all around the country, and I've gotten emails from probably like 14 different countries of people that are kind of behind me and following my story. And by my blog, people have kind of made a personal connection to like what I'm doing, and all over the country, people have, you know, helped me out in different ways, like whether paying for my hotels or giving me money to get to the next city, or you know, taking me out for, like, your neighbor here just offering to, seeing my car and offering to take me out to breakfast. I mean, I think the blog has made it, like, I've never started my car like, hi, I'm Erin, I'm gay, my car is vandalized, this was reaction one. I mean, I made it very personal from the get-go, like, this is who I am, this is my experience, and I kind of opened all. And I think by opening up everything, I've definitely made myself more vulnerable to criticism from a lot of people. And not every single day has, you know, the police pull me over and we have this, like, really, you know, homophobic cop, and, you know, not every day is like that. So I'm just telling the whole journey of, you know, this is a 55-day trip that I'm doing, and this is what it's like before I left for the trip, every day driving my car. I mean, I want people to see that this has affected my life in a major way, you know, like, I can't really just go to, like, gas stations or the grocery store to do everyday things without having a dialogue with people. And I don't know, if there's one thing that I think I'm doing by this, it's definitely raising awareness about the fact that this kind of thing does happen, because most people just cover it up and you never see it. But I've probably interviewed 500 people, and I've talked to several more, and I mean, I can't even count how many people have seen my car driving all around the country, or parked, or on the highway, or, you know, who have stopped to talk to me, or just seen my car somewhere. And, you know, even I was at, you know, Brandon's school for less than 2 hours yesterday, and when we came home last night, we went to one of the dorms, and everybody was talking about it. They just, oh, do you see that bug, you know? And I'm interviewing these people, they don't even know it's my car, and then I tell them after the fact, you know. But they were all impacted by seeing it, and they're all having a discussion about it. And I can't even count how many people that have seen my car and reacted to it. I have no way of measuring that. But the one thing that I can say that I'm definitely doing is raising awareness to people that this, you know, by giving it visibility, people are getting to see it, and then they're realizing that it does happen. And by realizing it happens, you can eventually, like, get to the point, like, okay, maybe this is a problem. Like, if you never see it, you're like, oh, that's not a problem, that doesn't exist. But it does. So I'm helping people to see that and hopefully come up with some kind of a solution. But the blog, yes, the blog's been interesting because I've been open about my relationship. I've been open about, you know, what it's like for me to, like, leave home and go away for 2 months and leave everything that I know to do this, and kind of make the sacrifices that I'm making financially and emotionally. And, you know, honestly, that day that I walked in my car and it was vandalized, I had no idea, like, how it was going to change my life. And, you know, this is like one of my last stops, and I'm going home. And, you know, 10 days into the trip, my girlfriend and I broke up, and all her friends back in Albany are, like, boycotting me and making these MySpace pages that say, like, boycott fag bug, or boycott the bug, or swat the bug. And, you know, they're constantly just trying to discredit me, and, you know, people are saying that I'm not an activist. And I mean, basically just in every single way, shape, and form, people are trying to, you know, discredit what I'm trying to do. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting publicity, or because they're threatened by it, or jealous. I have really no idea what people's issues are. But a lot of, I mean, it started because there was a big dialogue, and it was this polar opposite reaction, and every step of the way it just kind of continued to be that. And whenever I think it's going to be, maybe it's not going to be as interesting anymore, there's always something, you know, that continues to kind of keep it fresh and vibrant. So some people have felt that I should change my writing style of my blog to be, like, less personal, but I've been doing my blog for like 120 days now, since, you know, the first day that I drove it. So nothing about me has really changed, and I'm just kind of trying to be honest about everything that's happening.
Kind of some closing thoughts. You've been on this long odyssey, this journey here. What jumps out at you? How do you pull this all together? What have you learned about people?
I think that the final thing is that I think it's a very inspiring story that, somebody did something to me that was meant to hurt me and, stifle me, and rather than let that get me down, or rather than walk around feeling like humankind is, people are bad or people stink, or, just feeling angry about people and the fact that someone would do this to me and feeling like I'm a victim and I can't believe that was done to me. I think just by the simple thing of keeping it in my car and deciding to embark on this cross-country trip, it's opened up so many doors for me, and I've made so many connections with people all around the country, and I have like a whole new network of support, from people, all over. And I've gotten to see people's reactions, both good and bad, but literally like the good response I've gotten are like 1,000 compared to like one bad one. And there's been so many random acts of kindness, like it gives me chills thinking about all the things people have done for me all along the way. So many people have stepped forward. Like if I didn't think I was going to make a home, or if I didn't know, if I had enough money, when I was feeling like I might not make it, somebody came through and like in a secretive way, like gave me money that, so I wouldn't have to worry about making it home. Just everything that I needed when I was not sure if it was going to happen. Someone somewhere came through and made that possible for me. So I don't know, just basically, I just think it's very inspiring that, something that could have easily made me question humanity or question people and the goodness of people has totally done the opposite and kind of restored my faith in the fact that there's so many good people out there, and it's awesome. I don't know.